Okay, let's jump into it. We have been talking loosely, especially around the NFL draft deadline, especially as teams are starting to get their roster set for 2026. Like, oh man, would an all-star team, what would an all-star team look like of all the players who came back? Bud, you have referenced often the number of early entries that we had, even 5, 6, 7 years ago versus what we have now. It's almost been cut in half. And how good that is for college football and the stars that we have. You took some time, you got in the lab, you crunched the numbers and the data, and you've put together a full run it back all-stars team. So I'll let you sort of walk us through this. I know we got graphics and everything. I'm fired up. I hope you're watching on youtube.com/cover3. We'll guide you through this now.
Yeah. Mikey, let's roll the offense first. So we know that the number of underclassmen who are declaring for the draft has been cut more than in half over the past couple of years due to NIL, the portal, et cetera. I think that's actually a really good thing, both for the sport and the players. We could talk about all the negative stuff, guys being able to go to the NBA and then come back, which I think is a little insane, to be honest. But this does allow guys to not make bad long-term decisions based on really short-term need for their families, And I think there are a lot of examples of that. We used to write about this as Nation. Some people are like, "Oh, this guy's a dumbass for going pro." I'm like, if his mom's getting evicted, if he can stick on a practice squad, that really changes his family's life. Now it's like, hey, I can actually get a degree and I can make some real money. And if I'm smart with it, I'm actually really set, for quite a while, assuming I go out and get a decent job if the NFL doesn't work out. But I mean, this is the national championship team favorite by a ton. I don't know what this roster would cost, but no team would be no college team would be competitive with this team, in any way, shape, or form. So for our listeners at home, quarterbacks, take your pick: Arch Manning or Dante Moore. Running backs: Justice Hayes and Mark Fletcher. Receivers: Deuce Robinson, Trey Richardson, Eric Singleton. Tight end: Jamari Johnson. Actually, a lot of good tight ends came back. So really, that was a hard pick right there. Offensive line: Carter Smith, Trevor Goosby, Caden Green, Bruce Mitchell, the BYU center, Austin Sarareld from Ohio State, and PJ Williams from SMU.
Is this the best offense in the country?
By far.
Yeah.
Okay. I would take Ohio State's wide receivers.
Well, they are losing Carnell Tate. They are losing Max Clare. I mean, they do have Jeremiah Smith, and they'll still be good there. But I don't know. I mean, between Robinson, Richardson, and Singleton, I feel like you've got a pretty good trio.
I mean, if 10 or 11 players in your starting offense are top 100 picks.
Yeah. I mean,
I think you could also run a
do
lot
Arch
of
and Dante alternate series.
Yeah, I don't know. You're not going to be able to pressure this very much without blitzing, and Arch and Dante will both hit one of these three guys who are open. If you're, I would think.
Well, the offensive line is bananas. That's true.
Yeah.
No one is getting into the backfield against this one. Also, a fun little note here. You're not. Jamal Haynes is out of eligibility. Justice Haynes, no relation, is transferring in from Michigan. So that's a big pickup for Georgia Tech as they reload. That's why you see Justice Haynes there. A couple other transfers there, including Eric Singleton. That might have flown under the radar for some. He is now going to be, after Georgia Tech and Auburn, he is a huge part of the outlook for that Florida offense as well. So a few other transfers here. But yeah, Justice Haynes, not Jamal Haynes, either way, outstanding back. And when you combine him with Mark Fletcher, that's pretty dynamic.
I think this offense is $25 million alone.
Did you just run the math on that?
Yeah. Just based on what I either have heard these guys are making or what I know similar players make.
How much of that 25 is tied up in your quarterback spot? Because that feels like
I just got it for one quarterback.
Okay.
I think if you want to carry these two QBs, then make it 31.
That's bad cap management.
Yeah.
Any Ryan, our friend Ryan, points this one out. Only 4 from the SEC. Anything to read into there?
Could have swapped in Lance Hurd, the tackle who went from Tennessee to Kentucky. I guess if you want to. trying to think. I don't know if I'm reading into that too much necessarily.
I mean, Gooseby and Green, those guys are going to be like all preseason All-Americans. So
Yeah,
from the SEC.
Well, outside of the two quarterbacks, who do you think would have been first rounders? Anybody? And that's probably why they came back.
Good call.
Maybe some guys who I don't think Gooseby, because this is a fairly good tackle draft from what I've been listening to. If Deuce had run an insane time, like I know his dad thinks he will, maybe back half of the first round with the size, but he would have needed to really rip one off at the combine.
Right. And I do think that's sort of the line that you look for what makes sense to come back at collegiate numbers versus bouncing for the NFL. And the quarterbacks are so skewed because they're making so much money. But both Arch and Dante would have made more as first rounders. But I think for everybody else, I think that's kind of the simple equation. If I'm a first rounder, I'm going. If I'm a second rounder, which is great for college football, if I'm a second rounder, I'm going to come back, squeeze out one more year of guaranteed money before I either try to be a first rounder or go in the same position. And you take the risk that you drop some.
And also of this list, only 1, 2, 3, only 3 transferred this offseason.
From the offense side.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
I actually feel like the tackles would have had the best chance to be drafted in the first round.
I mean, Texas wanted PJ for sure.
Because I mean, like outside of Maui Noah, Fano, Proctor, I don't know how many surefire first round picks there are at tackle in this class. I mean, there will be because teams are going to draft tackles. So it's like, I would say of those guys, the tackles like Gooseby, I do wonder if they had entered the draft, if they might have been able to get into the first.
Yep. Should be interesting. You want to take us to the defensive side?
Yeah, let's hit defense here.
Whoa.
Yeah. By the way, well, I'll say this in a second. Sorry, so let's read this off here for the listeners at home, and then we'll get into the discussion. All right, edge players. Damon Wilson, obviously transferring from Missouri to Miami, and then Young Concrete, Mateo Uiagalelei, DJ's little brother. He came back. On interior defensive linemen, I really almost went 2 Oregon guys with Amari and Bear, but I think AJ Holmes is really good for Texas Tech. Also, Ahmad Moten. So you could have had this like 5-man D-line group be 3 Oregon, 2 Miami, and like after putting this together, it really made me think, shit. Like, does Oregon have the top quarterback prospect in the draft and like all these? This feels a little Ohio State-y, right? Like how they got that thing to run back 2 years ago.
Right.
All right. So linebacker was kind of slim pickings, honestly. Rasheem Biles, who transfers from Pitt to Texas, and then Kip Lewis, the Oklahoma backer. Corner's okay, I think. Javion Cole and Jamari Sharp. Obviously, the guy made some nice plays for Indiana down the stretch. Kelly Jones, obviously a good player. Bray Hubbard, I think highest rated safety on PFF. And then Brendan Jordan, dude makes a lot of plays, obviously Texas Tech there. So this is an insanely good defense too. Like, I think you can argue maybe somebody could field a better defense than this. Like, I think the offense is kind of unquestioned just given the O-line.
Right.
But this is like, yeah, this is a crazy good defense. And like, I think this makes our sport so much better.
Secondary, our weakest point here?
Probably, or backer, I guess.
But with that defensive line, who the hell cares?
Who cares?
Yeah.
We've got Damon Wilson, Mateo, Amari Washington, and AJ Holmes.
Yeah, exactly.
Who else was on the defensive side? Who else did you look at in terms of thinking about adding, or what was the debate?
Shoot. Defense was actually kind of harder. And I wonder if that's because offensive skill in this year's class and quarterbacks lack. So one of those guys was like, hey, like, because of the lack of offense in this draft, defense might get pushed up, you know? There's a couple guys I was like, all right, he's got to be back. And then they left. And so I found myself like paring this down a lot more on defense than I thought I had to. But like, I think it's still a really good look. I'm a little surprised I didn't have any Georgia guys on here, to be honest. Like, that's something, I know they were young, but maybe the fact that there's very few, if any, draft eligible guys who Georgia retained speaks to how young that defense truly was last year.
Because KJ was a sophomore, like a true sophomore, right?
That's what I have him as. The chat's
Yeah.
telling me he should be on here, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think he's going to his true junior year, which means he's not eligible for this list.
Right. That's what that's what I had on the top of my mind too. But yeah,
so basically, like I looked and I just filtered by snap count and then high school class year, and then tried to like also filter by age to make sure I wasn't missing anybody, and then went through and crossed off everybody who declared early, and then I texted Mike Renner and I was like, hey. Is there anybody who has a master list of everybody who's actually in the draft? And he's like, no, that's what makes this stuff such a pain in the butt. I was like, okay. So then I asked Gemini to cross-reference all these names with any news articles in the past like 2-3 weeks with, and then I walked away for a little bit and it came back and then it didn't actually work. So then I used GPT and that actually did work. Yeah. It was probably just too big of an ask because there's like a lot of guys who played a certain number of snaps.
Right. Also in college football, and I don't think this happened with this group, but we do have players with the same name.
Yes.
So, like college football is I see you shaking your head, but college football casts a wide enough net that you will have players, a safety at Boise, might very well might have the exact same first and last name. And I don't know if the robots have figured that out quite yet.
Xavier McLeod for Georgia. That's not a bad one right there. Yeah.
So would
Jackson
you think
Jr.
Georgia,
the defensive end at Ohio State? I don't think he's the level of the two guys I had on the list, but like he'd be on the second team, I think.
Would you take Georgia's defense over this defense?
No, because I think the D line sets us apart.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, Danny, agree?
Yeah.
When we're thinking just off the top of your head, when you're trying to think about who would come to mind as the defenses that you would at least check or put into that conversation for next season?
I still think Oklahoma's going to be good.
Uh-huh.
I still think Texas is going to be good.
Notre Dame?
Notre Dame will be good.
Yeah. I don't know if Notre Dame, and this pissed off Irish fans last time we talked about this. I don't know if they have like enough freaks up front to where I would take them over this defense, but I think they'll be in the conversation for one of the better ones in the country for sure.
I think Notre Dame has a better secondary than this defense.
I agree.
Yeah, I could see that.
This is, again, I think the big headline takeaway here, as we've been able to sort of loosely touch on and then really drive home, is that college football just continues to see the high-end talent improve. Well, there are a lot of headaches that have come with the way that roster construction and NIL and transfer portal, it has created a lot of headaches for a lot of people, but the sport as a whole just continues to be able to be a lot better at the top when you've got guys like this that otherwise, as you mentioned, Bud, are not headed off, to the NFL a little bit early.
Quantrell in the chat actually makes a really good point that this may be a different question at the end of the year.
For Notre Dame,
some of these young guys Georgia signed are really high upside guys. I don't know if they're going to be that on August 30th, but come January, let's find out.
Hey, don't forget, speaking of calendar, August 30th is week 0 because we've got a September 5th starting point.
And there's 15 days at one point between the quarters and the semis.
We love it.
Yep.
Get out your sundials. We're reworking the calendar, baby.
Ridiculous.
Let's go.